Welcome back to TrimitKala. Today we are sculpting a concept lion head in ZBrush. We have started with a basic sphere and started distorting it. Right now I am using a snake hook brush. So I am creating spike-like shapes and it is going to be the mane of the lion. Now let's work with the head. By using the move brush, I am trying to give it a shape of a lion head, also creating the planes of the head by using trim dynamics. Creating the position for the eyes, and for this I have used clay tube. Still I am creating small planes. Now I have started sculpting by using clay tube. So clay tube is a beautiful brush to add or subtract clay. I am planning to open the jaw. So once again by the help of the move tool, I am trying to create that impression. Now subtracting the inner mouth by using clay tube, and for this you can hold Alt in the keyboard. I have given the impression of the gum also. So right now we are doing the block-in, and this is the most important part in a sculpting. So very quickly by using snake hook I have created the ears also, you can see. So by using mainly 4 brushes the entire block-in can be done, and in this case I have used snake hook, trim dynamics, clay tube and move brush. In this area, I am using Groom Twister brush. Generally, this is a groom brush, but I found it very useful while sculpting also. And you can see how quickly we are getting the result. Now switching back to my clay tube, and let's design some hair clumps. So what basically I am doing right now is I am blocking in the smaller shapes. So this is a design and you have to be very spontaneous while doing all this. It really doesn't matter what kind of clay you are using. It can be a natural clay, it can be a digital clay. But the real design is coming from your brain. So now you can see previously I have made bigger planes and now I am dividing those planes into smaller planes. You can see creating the smaller forms. Now let's do the blocking for the eyes. And since then I am using the clay tube only. For adding or subtracting clay I am using clay tube. So you can see I have given the impression of the nostrils. Now in this area I am also creating lines, and for this I am using standard brush with a very narrow alpha. I am just dividing the gum and the orbicularis oris muscle. Same thing I am going to do for the jaw also. Now you can feel the stretch of the jaw. Now let's make the gum a little bit more defined. You can see I am dividing the shape even more. Now let's give some impression of the wrinkles in this area. And for this I am using a slash brush. You can see dividing the areas into even smaller shapes. So while sculpting I am trying to give it an expression also. You have noticed some of the areas I am smoothing. So whatever brush you are in, just hold shift and sculpt and that area will be smooth. So like this, anytime by using move brush you can give it a desired shape. Coming to the eyes once again, and let's modify it a little bit. Here are some teeth and the tongue I created in 3D application and just have imported it. Now this is going to be our reference and accordingly we can sculpt the gum. Now I am going to the individual areas and trying to find the edges. Still I am using the same brushes. Gradually I am looking at the smaller detailing. So just refining the shapes here and there. Here I am giving the hints of the muzzle structure. Now by using clay tube we can exaggerate this. In this I am using standard brush only, but the type is drag rectangle, and in that I am using a alpha texture. You can see I am getting a decent result in this. So like this you can create a skin kind of a texture. Right now I am just positioning the wrinkles. Later on I will come back and will sculpt these areas. Now it's time to sculpt it and exaggerate the texture. And you can see I have switched to a blob brush. So first of all I have designed the grooves, and now I'm sculpting those areas which are coming out of the surface. Once you have blocked in the model, creating the texture will be much more easier for you, because you are just going to work on the surface. You are not changing anything but just adding the texture over it. Now you can see through these textures we are converting this surface into an organic shape. Once again in this area also I am doing the same, placing the texture first, and then later on I will come back and will sculpt these areas. Today, throughout the process, I am assuming that you already know ZBrush. If it is new to you, I will suggest in my channel there is an introduction video of how to use ZBrush. You can go to that video first and then it will be very easy for you to follow this tutorial. Because today I am only focusing on the sculpting part. Now let's concentrate on the eyes for some time. And you can see I am refining the edges of the textures. One thing to discuss over here, that I am working on one side and the other side is automatically done. That means I am working with symmetry on. So you can do that by pressing X on the keyboard. So by pressing X you can click it on, by pressing X you can click it off. So you can toggle like that. So whatever I am sculpting right now, it's a combination of those three things I was discussing at the very initial stage: adding the clay, subtracting the clay, and smoothing the clay. Now very quickly I am going to sculpt with the mane, and for this I am using clay tube, you can see. So once again it's all about design and decision making. After this sculpting I am going to do everything what I did around the nose and around the eyes. Alright, there is a time lapse and you can see I have exaggerated all the edges in the hair clumps also, and now it's time for the smaller detailing. That's alright, now let's exaggerate the pores in this area, and for this I am using a standard brush with a very small circular alpha. Also adding some detailing here and there. Now I am going to add the smallest detailing throughout the surface. And for this also I am using textured alpha. Now let's concentrate on the eyeball and add some detailing. Alright, we are almost ready with this sculpture, and let's change the material of it. So this is the final output we are getting. These are some renders we got after the lighting. Hope you enjoyed today's session, and you may subscribe the channel because many more tutorials are coming in future. Thank you very much for watching.